Hello, everybody. Welcome back to 100 horror movies that you have to watch. This week we are going over The Black Cat. I did not know anything about this movie going into it, and I was pleasantly surprised the more and more I found out about it. So as soon as I looked up the poster, you see this. If this poster does not catch your attention for at least one of the several reasons, I don't know if we can be friends. First off, there's so much going on here. You have the black cat in the background with the glowing eyes. You have somebody carrying a woman that is unconscious or dead, or I have no idea. You have Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi in this movie, knowing that it's an Edgar Allan Poe story called The Black Cat. There's got to be something here you're interested in. This version of The Black Cat is from 1934, and it's a horror movie starring Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi, and they are not in monster form. They are in people form, which I don't know if that's the way it's supposed to be said, or if I'm just supposed to call them people. This film helped create and popularize the psychological horror film as a subgenre of horror. There are no big bad scary monsters, there's nothing supernatural or otherworldly. There is a poor representation of Satanists in this, but this came from a time where people didn't really know what Satanists were, which I'm sure had an effect on the original audience because it puts out there something that is the unknown. People don't know a whole lot about these occult gatherings and what it means, so just the fact that it's unknown but real is enough to get people pretty worked up. On account of this being a psychological thriller, I don't know how much justice I'm going to be able to give it, just trying to convey how it hits you inside. And I know I'm wording this all incorrectly, but I'll give you a generalization of the plot and let you go from there. We start off with Pete and Joan Allison, who are newlyweds on their way to their honeymoon, when they are, due to overbooking on the train, introduced to Dr. Vidas Werdegast, played by Bela Lugosi. We find out a little bit about the doctor during a conversation they have, giving their introductions. We find out that he has been a prisoner of war for the last 18 years, who had lost his wife and daughter in that time, and he was going back to visit an old friend, played by Boris Karloff, whose name is Halimar Polzig, if I said that correctly. When they get off the train, they decide to carpool with each other, but due to bad weather, there is an accident, and Joan is injured. Dr. Vidas suggests that they bring Joan to Polzig's house to nurse her back to health. And it's inside of Polzig's home where things get really crazy. It seems like around every corner there is another far-fetched, insane situation going on. Everything from dead people being displayed in glass coffins to Satanistic rituals and human sacrifice, plot twists about what had happened in the 18 years that Dr. Vidas was gone. God, there's just so much happening that keeps you on your toes throughout this entire movie. I am very glad that I checked this out and completely agree that this should be on the list of 100 horror movies that you need to watch. But before we wrap this up with the scratching off and the thank you to the Patreon subscribers and you guys for liking and subscribing and hitting those buttons and watching these videos, there are two things that I want to talk about pertaining to this movie. And the first one is a conversation I have had with several friends over the last several years about what's the scariest thing in movies or horror movies, or what's the thing that really gets to you. And you have all of these supernatural monsters, going back to the originals, the Mummy, Frankenstein, Dracula, the Wolfman, stuff like that. And nowadays we have Freddy Krueger, Jason, Michael Myers, Art the Clown, Chucky. But there are so many embodiments of terror. But of all of the ones that I listed, Michael Myers is always the one that sticks out because He's not a werewolf, he's not a vampire, he's not a dream demon, he's not a possessed doll. He is just a human whose goals are very different from the rest of ours. And that makes him scary because anybody could be like that. In this movie, we have two people that are known for the horror monsters that they have portrayed, and they do a fantastic job in this horror film just playing people. So let me know below what you guys think is scarier. Are supernatural beings, demons, or evilly possessed dolls scarier than people that you can't tell what their intentions are? It's a great debate to have with people, and I'm curious what your opinions are. The second thing I want to talk about touches base on a topic that I've talked about in several videos before, and it's critics and reviewers giving their opinions of whatever it is they are reviewing or critiquing. Back when this came out in 1937, a New York Times reviewer wrote that The Black Cat is more foolish than horrible. The story and dialogue pile the agony on too thick to give the audience a reasonable scare. And I think the reason that he has that opinion is, like I stated before, this was kind of one of the first movies to get into the psychological horror genre. So if this reviewer is expecting jump scares or scary monsters, he's going to miss the point completely on it. Now, this same movie was reviewed in 2010 by Time Out, who asked its authors, directors, actors, and critics that have worked in the horror genre to vote for their top horror films, and The Black Cat came in at 89 on the top 100. So you can see that there's a very big difference in how people interpret or receive a movie, which goes back to my point that reviewers and critics are just one opinion. I liked this movie. You might watch it and not enjoy it, and that's a totally valid response. You might see it and think it's the greatest movie in the world. Even though I like it, I don't know if I would put it in my top 10. But again, it's just how everybody connects to it. So, this is definitely one I would suggest, especially if you are into psychological thrillers. You can kind of see the origins of when it started. That brings us to one of my favorite parts of this series, and that is the scratching off of the movies. Well, today is going to be a little bit trickier. I do not have my normal camera people helpers today. So we're going to try to scratch this off all by myself. And today we're going to be using the Lucky Duck Entertainment enamel pin to do our scratching for two reasons. One, I didn't want to go get a quarter from my change. And two, I thought this would be a good time to promote some merch that you guys can buy if you are so interested. We're going to scratch off the Black Cat here and see if and see what they decided to put behind here for us. Oh, okay. I know what this is. So I don't want to give away too many details because this is definitely a spoiler for the movie. But this is what is behind the scratching of the Black Cat here. And that is what is behind there for us. So that is the scratching off of the Black Cat. Next week, we're going to be doing The Bride of Frankenstein. This is going to be the first movie that is a callback to another one that we've done, I believe. And I'm really excited about that because by next week, we should have the new addition to the Creepin' It Real family. To go along with our invisible duck, we're going to have Duckenstein's Monster. We're still settling on the name, but I'm pretty sure that's what it's going to be. We are having the wonderful Natalie Jane, who designed our invisible duck character, based off of Claude Rains' Invisible Man, working on our newest edition, Frankie, who is going to be Duckenstein's monster. So that should line up perfectly with the Bride of Frankenstein then, which means now we might need to add a Bride of Frankenstein monster to our collection. But guys, I want to thank you very much for taking time out of your day and watching these reviews, liking and commenting below. Make sure you hit those buttons and tell your friends. And a big giant I love you thank you to my Patreon subscribers for having my back, especially throughout this last year, which was really difficult. Their names are going to pop up in just a second. You guys are the best. So I'll be signing off because I got a new movie to watch. I'll see you guys next Thursday. Later days.